Hey folks, welcome back to Only the Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Rabin, and today I want to talk about my second most anticipated release of 2024, and that is the Book of Elsewhere by China Miéville and Keanu Reeves. I have been waiting years for anything new from China Miéville. So to say I was excited for this book to drop is, there's no words, there's no way I can possibly begin to describe how excited I was for this book. So anyway, The Book of Elsewhere is a novel based on Keanu Reeves' Berserker comics, which is his contribution to the story, and it follows it. It's an episode in the life of B, or Unity, who is an 80,000-year-old immortal warrior who he wants to gain the ability to become mortal and to die. He doesn't want to die. He wants to gain the ability to die if he so chooses. And the novel essentially shows us a particular point in time in B's life where he's basically an assassin for the government with his own dedicated shadow unit that is both combination with work team and also research facility where they basically try to exploit B, and he just doesn't care because he's seen it all done before. He's seen it tried all before, and he knows that they'll inevitably fail. So the story is pretty much just call it a short period of time in B's life where he's there, and it follows an unfolding series of events when a few of the antagonistic forces in B's life kind of converge on him, and it has some consequences for his particular place in life. I can't really get into it. I don't want to really get into it because of the spoilers involved, but it's pretty cool. So this is China Miéville's foray into like both action thriller and media tie-in. Like the guy famously said he kind of wants to write a fantasy book set in pretty much every other genre. So I guess he can check these two off his list. And it's honestly, it's a mixed bag. Like, I don't have high expectations for media tie-ins to begin with. Even with someone with China Miéville at the helm. The problem is that ultimately he is constrained by the world that Keanu Reeves has already conceptualized. So there's only so much leeway that he has. And but throughout the book we do get a good taste of everything that why we love China Miéville. Like, we have his writing style, which is always a joy to read. It's always unique. It's always creative. Like, over the course of this book, we have first, second, third POVs. We have we have just this really weirdly structured tale where we'll have stories within stories, where we'll have scenes portrayed with with no explanation, where we're non-linearly portrayed, I should say. Like, we'll be at the end and things will slowly unfold, and we'll understand what led to this point in time and these kind of things. At the end of the day, this is an action thriller, so there's not too much high expectations in terms of that. Like, there's going to be a lot of action scenes, there's going to be a lot of violence and that kind of thing, and China still manages to play with those. Like, and sometimes they happen off scene, sometimes we get everything in graphic detail. Sometimes they unfold in fast-paced, action-packed ways. Like, they're all well done. At the end of the day, by nature of being a particular genre, there are some constraints that he does play with, and some that he follows, just enough to see what you can do, what the genre is typically like, and what he can do in it. So that was kind of cool to watch. One of the reasons why we haven't seen or like China hasn't released anything in so many years is because he was dealing with depression, and he's finally at a stage in life where he's starting to. It seems like he's in a better place. He's married now, which I didn't know until I started looking into, like, until I read some of the press releases leading up to this novel. So he's married. He seems to be in a better place mentally. And this book kind of deals with it kind of you can tell it deals with some of the things that he's dealt with over the last couple of years, like depression, grief, and trying to cope with loss, and these kind of things are things that he touches on in various different ways over the course of the novel. Making, forming relationships, having to let go, these kind of things, like these are very prevalent things that are played with throughout the course of the novel. Of course, at the end of the day, this is an immortal who is walking among normal people, so he kind of does a deep dive into that also, in terms of how that would affect memory, how that would affect your personality, your emotional, just your emotional capacity, I guess. And he does some funny things with it. Like, obviously his take on it would be a little bit different than most people's. So there's a little bit of fun play going on there. And of course, this being China Miéville, he did manage to squeeze in some of the weirdest stuff. Some of the weird stuff that we like about him in here. Like, one of the more fun things about the novel is that B has a brother in arms who became immortal in a similar way to him, and said brother is essentially an extinct species of pig. And over the course of the novel, they're stuck in this very antagonistic relationship where they tend to gravitate to each other, and the pig, like, over the course of the novel, this story unfolds, and we find out more about this relationship between B and this pig. I don't know if this is covered in the Berserker comics. I'm assuming not, because this is the kind of crazy crap that I've come to expect from China Miéville. But he has this, like, this weird relationship with this pig, and over the course of the novel, we kind of find out what this pig means to him, how the way he sees this pig, and they have, like, this whole character arc that he goes through, this whole progression he goes through with this pig in terms of his emotions, and this it's you gotta read it to see it. So there's that. Then one thing I did like about the novel is that, and it has to do with the way that it's structured. Like I mentioned, there's different POVs. There's different, like, stories within stories and these kind of things. I actually, the more I think back on it, and even like the way that the words are laid out on the page and these kind of things, it kind of reminds me of. It seems more as if someone, like, they literally tried to take the text from a comic book and slap it onto a page and see at different points. Like, you just have these lines at different, these random lines with text at different points on the page and these kind of things, and just the way that scenes are kind of laid out. Initially, I thought it kind of forms like a mosaic. The more and more I think back on just how it's laid out, it's structured very coherently, but at the same time, it's not structured in the way you would think a normal novel should be, whatever your expectations are. That kind of thing. It was nice. Like, it wasn't like the most experimental thing I've read or the most creative thing I've read, but it was unique. And I think it kind of fits, given that this is meant to be like a tie into a comic book world. So there's that. What else did I like about this? Of course, this is China, so the vocabulary is there in full force. Like, I learned a ton of new words. I was googling quite a number of words as we went through this book. So there's that. Like, the essence of his writing is there. The weird vocabulary, the way that character thoughts are portrayed, concepts are portrayed, the fun he tends to have with how he writes, literally how he writes. He even managed to sneak his love of garbage in there. Like, trash does make an appearance in one of the more interesting ways. One of the things that, like I mentioned, there are these stories within stories, and one of the things that they do is the stories, they mainly portray, like, they mainly give us insight into B's character, B's interaction with different people over different periods of time, and like they each have their own flavor because these are unique people in unique places of the world in their own time, and those tend to, like, as the story unfolded, like those tend you kind of tend to understand why those were included, what they contributed to the story. So there was that. And there was just a lot of shout outs in here. There was a lot of shout outs to like the famous Pulp Fiction, to some famous epics, these kind of things. Of course, B being around for 80,000 years, he's seen a lot. He's known pretty much everything there is to know in history. He has a lot of personal experience with some of the things that have gone on to become myth and legend in the present day world, and yeah, like it's fun. Like he clearly had a lot of fun playing with his character, who is essentially, by the way, Keanu Reeves. Like, this guy is the character of B, or Unity, whatever you want to call him. He's just Keanu Reeves. That's all he is. Let's be real. He is immortal in the same way that Keanu Reeves is suspiciously young in our present day. There is that. I'll do with that what you will. Overall, like I've been gushing for the last, I don't know, 10, 11 minutes, whatever. That's not to say that this book isn't without its flaws. Like, it's not. At the end of the day, this is very much China Miéville restricted by the constraints of a pre-existing world. So I don't feel like this is a really good portrayal of his of just the level of craziness he can get up to. He is very creative in this. Don't get me wrong, but like when he's given his own space to do his own things, he does so much more. But it was fun. Like, after so many years of nothing, like I'm glad that he's doing better. That he's able to bring this to collaborate and bring this to life for us to enjoy. I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful that we got it, essentially, and I don't really recommend it as a starting place for China Miéville, mainly because you'll get to see like his writing style and that kind of thing, how he plays his creativity in some sense, but at the end of the day, he has too many restrictions on him. You won't really get a good taste of what he can do. So for that and only that reason, like I always say, my place that I usually recommend people start at China Miéville is The City in the City, and that hasn't changed. Like, this book was good, but it was by no means his greatest, and it was by no means his worst. That being said, even average or a bad China Miéville novel is still leagues above what's being published in genre in most cases. So yeah, there is that. But yeah, I think that's everything I have to say about the Book of Elsewhere. I'm satisfied with it. I went into this book with very low expectations because, and like I said at the very start of this, China Miéville is constrained by a pre-existing world, and media tie-ins in general tend to suck, or be like average, exploitative at best, whatever you want to call it. So like, it was fun. Actually, the one big quibble I did have with this story is that it kind of feels like there's no resolution. Like, not that there's no resolution, but there is a resolution, obviously, because the book did come to an end. But things are left so open-ended. Like, I can easily see a sequel to this being announced. I could easily see a sequel not being announced, or just continuing into the comics. On one hand, it sucks. On the other hand, I kind of like it because this is meant to give us show us just a brief, the blink of an eye in the lifespan of this immortal, and we do get that. Things are left very. There is some wrap up, there is some conclusion, but things are also left quite wide open. There are a lot of mysteries that can continue that obviously continue on it, and probably will continue on into the comics or the Netflix adaptation or whatever comes next for the series. So be warned about that. If you're a fan of neat wrap-ups, you will not get that in this book. But yeah, overall, a good book. It's a short read. It's like, the hardcover that I have is like 330 pages. It's not going to blow your socks off. I think I actually saw someone mention that the audiobook is also like 12 hours online. But yeah, it's probably not gonna rock your world if you're a China Miéville fan. It's a good read. It's a good read, pretty much. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm just grateful to have anything new from China Miéville after so long, and I'm so happy that he's doing so well. And one of the pieces of news that did slide by during all the press release for this novel is that he also submitted his own 1,000-page novel to editors, and that's in the works. So hopefully we get that next year, and hopefully that's a China Miéville tour de force, the book that we've been waiting so long for. And yeah, good experience. Try it if you want to, but like I said, I really don't recommend this as a starting place for China Miéville. If you want to start here, you're really not going to lose out, but there are better starting places, and do with that what you will. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.